And let's keep it going for Yusuf.
All right. So high school is a pretty tough time to transition for me, like many of us. And it wasn't because of the flesh-eating acne I had or the never disappearing baby fat or the sideways goatee. It wasn't those things. It was because I was moving from a small town outside Atlanta to the suburbs of Washington, D.C. just 2 weeks before freshman year. And in Georgia, I had a great life. Everything was fine about it, except the proverbial question I would always get at grocery store checkouts or sometimes at the doctor's office. It was 4 words: where are you from? And, I always felt really uncomfortable when asked that question. It made me feel, I didn't want to make the other person feel unsafe or like uncomfortable. And for me, it always made me feel like an outsider. And I just never felt truly myself living there, especially post 9/11 suburban Atlanta. It wasn't a great time. And so 2 weeks in freshman year, I go into high school. It's just like the movies. You see the table with the jocks, the sexually active band geeks, and the popular kids. And I'm trying to find my place. And, I'm feeling an outsider here, too, because all these kids grew up knowing each other. They just came from middle school with each other. And there's only one middle school that fed to the high school. So I'm an outsider here as well. And I see some familiar faces. And I meet these kids. And they actually end up being my friends for most of the freshman year. There's one guy, Vincent. He was this Bolivian kid. He was really even keel, really chill. And then my friend Shayna, she's a Sri Lankan girl who was in orchestra with me. She played violin. And we ended up being good buddies. And for the most part, I was enjoying freshman year, but I felt like something was missing. But I felt comfortable, and I knew it because Vincent asked me one day. He's like, "Dude, where are you from?" And I went into autopilot. I went into what I would say in Georgia, which was, "I'm Greek," like in that movie that all the Americans like about the wedding. He's like, "Dude, it's not a big fat Greek wedding. You're not Greek. Like your name's Yusuf Sajid." I'm like, "All right, like that's right, like." Whew, I'm all right. Like I'm Pakistani, I'm Muslim, and that's like where my family's from. He's like, all right, cool. I'm like, all right, but I still felt like I just wasn't really a part of the school. Still felt like on the fringe. And then I heard an announcement one day. It was the Student Government Association. They do the announcements, and they said that student elections are happening in 3 weeks. And I felt a feeling that I'd never felt in my life before, which was I'm gonna do that. And so I thought, all right, I need a plan. How am I gonna go about this? So I met up with Vincent and Shayna. We came up with a plan. We had to assess the competition. So first, was Lacey. So Lacey was the popular girl in school, really like effervescent, well-liked. Her dad was a donor and helped build her homecoming float. And I was like, there's no way I'm gonna win over the mainstream and popular kids. And then there was Jason, who was a 6'5" basketball player, kind of the class clown of the jocks, friendly guy, always gave me a handshake, but it was like one of those man shakes, which I never really got because I was so naive. And I'd either have a sprained wrist or it looked like I was going through airport security getting patted down. There was this one time he wanted me to do like a forearm bump, but then I approached him like this, and there's no way I was getting votes from that crowd at all. So I was like, who else is there like me? Who else is like on the fringe, on the outside? And I sit there in lunch and I see some faces, and me and Vincent approach these kids, and we start chatting with them, and we learned that they're in the ESOL program, or English as a Second Language, as it was called at the time. Many of them were refugees or immigrants to the country, and they weren't in any of our classes because they're tracked a little differently. I knew a little bit of Arabic and Urdu. Vincent spoke Spanish. We had some banter, so I asked them for their support. I said, if you support me in this election, I'll have your best interests at heart. And they were happy to support me because I was the only person really to reach out to them. And they said they will galvanize the support of the ESOL crowd. And so then in orchestra, I was playing Mozart, and I kind of whispered to my friends, I'm like, I'm running for election, like, will you support me during this time? And they were all about it, like, all right, we got you. And Shayna was in orchestra too. She played viola, and she helped galvanize the band and the band geeks and the art crowd and the drama kids, because they were not being reached out to either. And so then I needed a campaign slogan. And around the time, UPS had an amazing motto, which was, what can Brown do for you? And I thought, all right, I'm gonna have to take this and use this to my advantage. I was the only racial minority running for the position. It would apply to me, and I want to get over this hump I had in Georgia, felt like an outsider and other than, and being kind of insecure about my race and my background. So I'm like, let's just go put it forward this time around. So I print these posters. I come up with a campaign slogan to help people pronounce my name, remember my name. And so under What Can Brown Do For You, it went he-saf, she-saf, who-saf, you-saf. Right? Okay? Call me Kanye West, right? So we have this going on. I'm like, all right, I'm feeling good. I go to school on election day. All the posters are torn down. I'm like, oh, everything's torn down. I'm like, this is not gonna happen. I'm like, how did this? I'm like, it's an inside job. Like, Lacey's dad donates to the school. The administration torn him down. Like, suddenly it was like Spotlight. I was Mark Ruffalo. I was like, who did this? They do all the time. And so I was feeling really down. I was torn down. I thought it kind of felt like an attack, but I didn't want to think too hard about it. I'm already so conscious about my identity. And so we go to vote, and everyone votes. And at the end of the day, they're gonna announce the name during the closing bell. And I'm thinking, all right, Lacey won. And then I hear my name. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe it happened. And Lacey got up out of class, she took her Dooney book bag, she hit one of the international kids, almost knocked him unconscious. Like, and the international kid looked at me, I'm like, I got you, like now, I'm in the position. And so me and Shayna go to celebrate at the Starbucks in a Target, because we were cool like that. And we were looking at each other, we're like realizing what happened today. And she's like, we are, like, we're the popular kids. Like we're the popular kids. We start jumping up and down, and Shayna like dropped her viola, and I dropped my Frappuccino and like discount denim. And little did we know that the actual popular kids were drinking beers and like ripping shots of Smirnoff at some basement house party that we weren't invited to, and doing popular kid things like blowjobs. But we would learn about it much later, and we were totally fine with our Target celebration and like the apparel aisle. And the whole high school election, it was great to pass on the perks to these communities that were not being reached out to throughout the years, but the whole election wasn't a revolt against the popular kids or the mainstream kids. Really what I realized, it was a revolution in myself to be more comfortable with my identity, to be more proud of who I am, and to be less afraid of it. And so now when people ask me where I'm from, I think about that election, and I think about all that you could accomplish when you just be who you are when you're an outsider. Thank you.